Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I am Caitlin Smith, your webinar host from Main Street ROI. We're very excited to be partnering today with Lucky Orange. And for today's webinar, we're excited to welcome Bradley Friedman, the Director of Client Services at Lucky Orange. This presentation should run about 40 to 45 minutes so that we can leave plenty of time at the end for a live Q&A session. So you can feel free to type any questions that you have in the Q&A box along the way, and then we'll get back to them at the end of the webinar. As always, today's webinar will be recorded and we'll send out a replay video along with a PDF of the slides to everyone who has signed up. So if you get any calls or are pulled away for work, don't worry, you're not going to miss a thing. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Bradley so he can get started.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's great to have you all here today. We're very excited we could join you all. And I look forward to going over the 5 very actionable ways to help improve website conversions today. Again, as Caitlin messaged and said, my name is Bradley. I'm here with Lucky Orange, and I am currently the Director of Client Services. I've got a background in website optimization, UX, UI strategy, and also, as a fun fact, I'm a first-time dad. I work with clients at Lucky Orange, from small Shopify stores to HubSpot agencies, all the way up to enterprise-level companies such as American Red Cross, PacSun, HR Block, TaylorMade Golf, and other companies that use Lucky Orange. And I work with all of them to help increase conversions and help improve customer satisfaction while on their website. So as we get started today, I want you guys to all think a minute about the word here on the screen. I'll pause for a moment and let you think about what this means to you. Insanity. It's an interesting word to be putting up there this early in the day. But when you think about insanity, some of you may be thinking about the workout you just completed or that you're dreading when you have to get home later today. Other of you may be thinking back to the summer when Joey Chestnut was eating 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes and competing against all the other crazy people out there. Others may be thinking about the polar plunge that you just took a part in or that you may have coming up in the next few weeks. And others might be looking at their Starbucks coffee on the table and thinking about that line that you continue to wait in every morning with all those people waiting to get their coffee. Whatever it is, all these things may be what you thought of when you think of insanity. But what I think of is what many people have attributed to Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, when you think about this, or when I think about this, I think about at home. When I tell my wife or my kids or whoever else it may be that when they leave the room, can they please turn off the lights? However, no matter how many times I remind them, I keep going back to the room and always see the lights left on. No matter what we do, that same thing occurs over and over again. The same can be said with our website. How many times have you worked with your team? Have you caught yourself trying to send that same traffic source to your website, trying to make those same changes? And no matter what you do, you keep going back to the same well and doing that same thing over and over again. Well, what we're going to focus in on today is how can we break those bad habits? It's time we all start working on breaking those bad habits so that we can drive more conversions and help keep our clients, our customers, or even our management team happy. So the first topic we're going to start with today is how we clear the traffic jam. As my friend Sujan Patel says, at the end of the day, website traffic is just a vanity metric. Everyone seems to be comparing themselves to each other by this number. How much traffic is my website receiving? But what we need to focus on is really what is driving more conversions. Just because we have all this traffic and we're ranked as a top website, does that actually bring money to the bottom line? Are we producing what we want, or do we just have this number that we can brag about? The first place we can start to do that and work on clearing the traffic jam is by understanding how your visitors are actually engaging with your website. And a way we can do this is using visitor recordings. For those of you who have seen visitor recordings, you're probably pretty familiar with what you're seeing here. But for those of you that haven't, on the left side is a visitor on your website. As they click, as they move, as they scroll, as they type in information, a visitor recording will allow you to play back and see exactly what's happening on your website. So over on the right-hand side is in a visitor recording. Once you've selected one to play back, you can actually see what that visitor was doing on the site. So you can understand where they were having trouble, what pages they were going to, and truly understand that visitor experience. Once you start to understand the visitor experience, you can then start to segment by different traffic sources and start to understand how those different users are experiencing your site. So now that you've seen where they've gone and what they've done, you can start using different segments of traffic and breaking them down at a higher level with dynamic connect. You can set it into specific users and understand what they're doing. Some examples can be seen here with our friends over at Impact. Impact is an agency, and one of their clients, AMBS, came to them wanting to understand how can we drive more conversions. So what they do is they always start by breaking it down into different user segment types, whether it's by device, browser, sources you're driving traffic from, languages that people are viewing the site in. This list can go on and on. But here's a great place to start if you don't have anywhere to start. And this will give you a good idea of what people are doing on your site. Start to look into those different segments. See how a desktop user is experiencing your site, tablet, mobile, and really compare and contrast those different ways. What Impact will also do for their customers is they'll then start to look at heat maps for these different segment groups. What this will do is maybe on a mobile device, those buttons towards the top left happen to be very popular. So how can we make those most prominent so the users are getting there? Over on the right, we see what a heat map looks like on desktop. You'll see they're looking at the plans a little bit more. And so these have been drawn out and are much more popular for the desktop visitors. Find out what these different user groups like and tailor those pages to the users. Based on research that Bob Ruffalo and his team did over at Impact, for companies where it took 10 landing pages and 50 landing pages, so they have different experiences for those different users coming to the site, they saw a 55% jump in leads when doing that. What it shows is that having those custom tailored experiences for those different user groups is going to lead to great results on the back end for you. What was also interesting in this report, though, is that knowing that having those tailored experiences is highly important, only about 50% of people are actually doing this. That means 1 out of every 2 people who have a website aren't creating those custom tailored experiences, and they're really missing out on the opportunity to increase those conversions right away. So make sure we take some time, understand our different user groups and segments we have, figure out what's important to them, and start building new landing pages. So when the customer comes, they really feel like that experience has been created just for them. What we need to remember is that we're not dictating to the traffic what they want. We're going to cater to their needs, understand what they're looking for, and build out that custom experience. Now, the last thing we want to do as we focus in on clearing the traffic jam is once we understand what is and isn't working for these different segments, we also want to make sure when we find what isn't working, either find ways to make it work or start cutting that traffic and getting rid of that bad traffic. It's important that we don't keep fueling the fire and making things even worse by dumping more fuel onto that fire when it's not working. We also want to focus in and look for bots. While bots at a high level may feel like they don't really affect your user experience, so who cares if they're still there? If you look into it more, it really can throw off things you're doing. Things like your analytics, A/B test, looking at your conversion rates, maybe even your SEO and the reputation of your site. When you have bots mixed in, especially if you have ones that are coming and hitting your site often, it could throw off your A/B test. Maybe it looks like version A was performing very poorly, but for some reason that version had a very high percentage of bot traffic. So of course they weren't going to convert. You need to make sure you understand where these bots are coming from. Maybe block them and try to get rid of them from your site, or at least make sure that you're taking it out of your reports so that it's not throwing off and causing you to make decisions that really aren't the right ones. So again, as we look back on how we can start clearing the traffic jam, we're going to start by evaluating that traffic you're already receiving. Once we do that, start identifying what is and isn't working for those different segments of users. From there, you can start tailoring your site, creating those different landing pages and experiences for your customers. From there, we'll want to work on getting rid of that bad traffic. And then once we figured out what is working, how can we continue to introduce more of it and then start testing new things as well. So after we clear that traffic jam, what we also want to do is focus in on our website and figure out how we can slim down our website. To give you a little background, back in 1995, when the internet was just getting started, there were only about 23,000 websites back then. The average size of a website back in 1995 was only 14 kilobytes. To me, and maybe a lot of you on there, that doesn't really mean much to me. But what talks to me and what speaks to me is a cheeseburger. So what we're going to do for this example here is we're going to compare one cheeseburger to a website back in 1995 and make those the same size. So as you think about that, we were able to get some information about what websites were and how big they were just a year or so ago, back in 2017. At that time, how many cheeseburgers do you think a website now is relative to size? 164, 212, or 253? Well, for those of you that picked 212, you're right. A website now weighs close to 3 megabytes, and that means that it's now 212 times the size of what a website was less than 20 years ago. What we can also do, and not only is a website 212 times bigger, there's also close to 1.8 billion websites out there now. The web has grown enormously, but what does that mean to you? So what it can mean is that there's no longer any nutrition for your visitors. Your call to actions aren't being consumed properly, and without that, a visitor can't truly experience your site the way you want them to. We have an unbalanced plate. Think about when you went to the buffet last, and you get there, your eyes are wide, and you start putting on hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries. You go to the Asian area and you start to pick up your kung pao chicken, orange chicken, fried rice. And by the time you get back to your table to eat, your plate has now become overloaded and you don't even know where to start. Well, the same thing's happening to your visitors. We're putting so many videos, so much content, all these different pictures that a visitor to your site has no clue what to look at first and no clue where they need to go to next. So what can we do to help get rid of this bloat? I know that was awkward for me, and I might have lost a few of you there, but that's the average amount of time a website's now taking to load here at the end of 2018. close to 9 seconds. Imagine coming to the site and waiting that long. You're just not going to do it. And the numbers will tell you that as well. 40% of people will abandon your site within the first 3 seconds. That means if your website's taking close to 9 seconds to load in, a visitor may not even see your website because it's taken so long. This is going to lead to a bunch of unhappy customers, and what's going to happen is the visitor is going to go back to the Google search, find that next competitor, and find someone whose website isn't taking forever to load. What we need to start doing is focusing in on what matters. What we're doing is we're often focusing way too much on crafting our stories and making our website look great. But what we're not doing is solving what the visitor is coming there for and making sure we focus in on the visitor problem. What we want to do is we want to start cutting the fat. We can use free services out there like Google Page Insights and run a speed test. You can also pay for services that go more in depth and help identify what's slowing down our site. We want to then take that information and start making the optimizations, such as compressing file, leveraging browser caching, and minimizing some of these videos and images we have on our site. Now, I want to make sure while you do look into this, you also want to test for yourself. Go to your site and see, is it taking a long time for my site to load? And I guarantee you, if you think it's taking a long time, your visitor is going to think the same thing as well. We want to make sure there's not false positives going on with those tests. So make sure as you run the page speed insights that you test for yourself and make sure it truly is affecting your site. Make those changes and see how much faster it's done it for you. So as we work to slim down our site and get rid of that bloat, what we need to first do is discover what's causing the bloat. From there, we can put a priority on how quickly our website loads and make those optimizations to help increase the speed so that visitors aren't dropping and going back to that Google search before they even get a chance to look at your site. So as we've done in the first two areas, we've worked on improving our website, and we're going to continue to do that through smoothing out the bumps in the visitor's journey. Here we have an example of what is known as a desire path. A lot of you over here on the left side of this page may have seen this before. The desire path is not always the easiest path to take. It can be dusty, bumpy, even muddy at times, and hard to get through. But what I can tell you is that from point A to point B, the desire path is going to be the most efficient way to get there. The same can be said for your website. Are you making whatever your point A and point B are easiest to get to? Or is it very hard for your customer to get there? What we want to do is as we start to study that desire path and figure out how we can smooth the bumps, is catch ways or catch areas from point A to point B that are driving visitors away. But how can we do that? A great way to look into is by reviewing your forms. Forms are the most common area where we're either collecting a lead, we're completing a purchase, and we're really driving that customer from point A to point B. So how can we start studying these? What we can do is we can start by using form analytics. Here's an example from agency SmartBug and their Arbor Terrace client in the independent living space. What they did is they used a service that allows for form analytics. You'll target a URL on your site that you want to study, and you'll launch the form analytics report. Once you launch that report, it'll start to identify for you which field or fields in this form is causing users to drop off. Here you'll notice it identified that drop down for IMA, and it's saying over 60% of people that drop off are leaving at that specific field. So now you say to yourself, how can we understand why those people are dropping off? Well, with the right form analytics tool, you'll be able to click into that specific field, and you'll now be able to watch recordings of visitors dropping off at that point. As you start to watch these recordings, is there a pop-up that comes up every time someone clicks into that field and distracts the user from going where they need to? Is the field broken for some reason, and maybe there's nothing to even click in that drop-down menu? Or maybe we can add a tooltip to this drop-down so people know what information you're looking for here. Whatever it is, it could be you're not upfront about your cost. It could be there's checkout errors. You require a new account. The list goes on and on. Whether it's for that site that we saw with SmartBug, or it's for your site that you're trying to improve, figure out what that error is and help fix it. An example I just came across the other day was here on FedEx. I went to the FedEx site and I started typing in my information. I put in my name, my address, and even the city, and I got to the state field, and there was nothing there for me to select. So I was filling out this form, trying to get my package delivered. So I went ahead, skipped the state field, started moving on, typing in my email, phone number, and finished completing this form. And I went ahead and pressed continue. So the page starts to load. I'm like, okay, I'm all set. But as I wait here longer, I notice the loading never goes away, and an error popped up behind it. So I sit here for 5, 10, 15 seconds. I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I try pressing the back button, but it won't take me back. I try to reload the page, and I still get this loading. No matter what I do, I can't get past this page. Well, the problem here with FedEx is they weren't using a form analytics tool. So they aren't catching this, and they're not able to improve for their customers. So what we ask you to do is, for those people out there that tweet at FedEx, stop the insanity, use that lucky orange, we're going to be monitoring that on our end, and we're going to give one lucky person a free 30 days of lucky orange. Now, after we've figured out and helped improve those form analytics, we also need to make sure we have clear call to actions throughout the site. Whether it's on a form, whether it's to get the next step in a sign up, a call to action is really what's driving the users to move on to the next page. They need to be easy to find, and they shouldn't be buried within a rotating slider or hard to see within a web page. So to give you an idea of some steps you can take to help improve your call to actions, we first need to figure out what color is going to be best. So I'm going to do a little experiment here today. For all the men in the audience, obviously you can't raise your hand and I can't see, but feel free to post it in the chat. Which color on here speaks to you the most? Is it red? Is it black? Is it orange? Is it blue, green, or purple? Which color on here is really speaking to you the most right now? All right, I see a bunch of different colors coming in. In this particular study that we used, blue happened to be by far and away the most popular for the men in this group. Now we'll switch over to the women in the audience today. Again, feel free to use the chat. Is red, black, orange, blue, green, or purple speaking to you the most? Again, as I can see in chat, and as we saw in the study, it really does vary. But this time, purple is a much closer second. What the study does show, and even what it shows within the chat respondents today, is that it's going to vary what color speaks to these different audiences. And it can vary from every different report and test that you do. So what we need to do is, while we want that magic button and we want to know which color to use and we just want it to work, what we need to do is figure out what color pops on our website. Be consistent though. Make sure you're using the same colors for submissions or for declines or for next. That way when a customer is looking for it, they know what that color already means on your site. What you want to do is while you're trying to make it pop, you also want to make sure that the color fits within your brand. You also want to test this button. Make sure it's clickable. Make sure that you haven't made this real pretty button, but when you click it, it doesn't go anywhere. And what we also want to do is make sure that we continue to test, and test some more. Run these A/B tests, figure out a couple different ones you can use, and like we talked about earlier, maybe different user groups respond different ways. And so you can make different experiences for those different users. Figure out what's best for your site and go with it. Now that we figured out which button we're going to use, we also want to figure out where we're going to put it, because that can mean as much to you as figuring out which button you're going to use. For those of you familiar with the fold is traditionally the part of the website that you can see when you first load it on your computer. Here's an example from Market for EDU with one of their clients on how the fold looks and some different call to actions they've placed on their site. But this is really more of the old way of looking at the fold. The new way of looking at the fold is looking at the effective fold line. And the right heat map tool is going to show you this. Instead of just seeing where people see right when they load the screen, the effective fold point is going to show you the average where the majority of the users have made it as they start to scroll your site. So this way, you understand, is a user coming to your site and actually scrolling farther down the page. So you know at what point you're losing a majority of these people. Now, once you understand where that effective fold line is, you can now start to understand where you want to place your call to action. You want to put it above the fold line. Maybe people are seeing it quicker. This will lead to more clicks on it, but cons can be that the conversion rate might be a little bit lower because they haven't studied up as much about what you're offering. So putting it below the fold can be better for you because your user has a better chance to read more of that content, understand what's going on your site before they click that call to action. Now test, understand, and figure out what's best for you. Maybe you even put it above and below the fold, making it easier for people to click early on if they already know what they want. But for those that need more information, they also see it later on. Continue to test what placement you want to use. There's all different ways to do it, and figure out what's best for your users. And I can guarantee you that once you've completed these tests, you're going to see that conversion rate go up. So as we continue to work to find that desired path and smooth out the bumps for our visitor during their journey on your site, we're going to find those areas that are stopping visitors from making it quickly from point A to point B. We're going to identify what are those errors that are getting in the way. That way we can fix those errors and make it easier for the user to complete the form or make that purchase. What we're then going to do as well is we're going to work on that experience for our visitors. We're going to update our call to actions, we're going to adjust the placements, and we're going to make it easy for those visitors to make it down that desired path. So these first three areas have been a great way to focus in on how can we improve that website experience. But what we haven't focused in on is how can we get our extrovert on? How can we talk to our customers and have that experience with them while they're on the site? As Ron Coffin says, the first step into delighting your customer is being there when they need you. So how this works for your website is making sure that you're always available. Are you making it easy for visitors to reach out to you, or do you have it buried away? Is your phone number, is your email, whether you're on a desktop, tablet, or mobile, easy to find and easy to use? And what I mean when I say easy to use, for a mobile experience, can you click on that phone number and it pops open phone conversation right away? Or can I click on that email and it opens up the email as well? Make it so this information is easy to find. There's a lot of people that still want to have that conversation. And by having this there, they know that you're real. They know that they can talk to someone and get those questions answered. But for a lot of people these days, we also don't want to forget about people and how we can talk with them through chat. And when I talk about chat, I talk about live chat. Live chat, a lot of people use now. And when you're on a site, what that is it's that button usually at the bottom right or bottom left that you can click on and have a conversation with a person. What we can tell you is that over 40% of people now prefer having live chat than any other type of conversation. They don't want to wait for an email response. They don't want to submit a help ticket. They don't want to interact with a bot. They want to get their answer right away. Close to 80% of people won't even buy from sites that don't have live chat available anymore. Over 90% of people are satisfied once they've had a conversation because they've now found out the questions, found out the answers to their questions, and are able to make that decision. Over 60% of people are even likely to return to your site because you had that live chat available. What all of this is leading to is over a 4.5 times better conversion rate for those people that engage with your live chat. They get their questions answered, they have the information they need, and now they're ready to make that purchase or ready to sign up because you were there and able to assist them. Now that we understand why live chat is so important, as we go to implement it, how can we make sure we're most efficient and effective when providing it for our customers? The first way to do that is through training. As you get to launch this, make sure you have some meetings with your team set up before we do it and have ongoing trainings as well. What are some common questions that are coming up? How can we respond to those most efficiently? What type of language? How do we want to interact with our customers? Set all of those expectations through the training so that your whole team is working together, and that way, no matter who picks up that live chat, they're going to have a similar experience. People want you to be human. They don't want to talk to a bot. They want to talk to a live person. They have the same feelings that you do, so be empathetic. If they have problems or concerns, understand where those are coming from so that you can help remedy that situation. Respond quickly. People want that quick interaction. That's why they're clicking on the live chat. Like we mentioned before, they don't want to wait for the email. They don't want to call in. They want their question answered right then. So respond fast. And you can do that through canned responses. For questions that continue to come up often, save those responses. That way you can quickly access them and respond right away. Keep them as short as you can. People don't want to read through a bunch of content. They want their answer right away. And as we look into these services, make sure that you also have some features like co-browse ability. That way when you're chatting with live visitors, you're also able to see what they're doing on the site. So as they do have questions or they are stumbling, you're able to see exactly what that visitor is seeing so you can help navigate and correct that issue they're having. And also make sure it integrates well with other platforms you're using. Can you send chat logs over to your CRM? Can you pull up heat maps or recordings or live views of what that person is doing? Any way that this service can integrate with the other tools you're using can make it that much easier and efficient for your chat operators. What we want to do is support our visitors through their entire customer journey and not just get to them after they've made a purchase. Other ways we can do this and other ways we can help avoid visitors abandoning their carts is like we've talked about here. Use live chat, have that conversation, and help get rid of any confusion they may have. Maybe if you don't have the time or there's points where you're not available, Pop up a survey or pop up a poll on your site and incentivize those visitors to make a purchase. Have them interact with you, maybe have them leave an email so you can follow up. And once they've done that, give them a 10% discount on their next purchase. That way, they've enjoyed that experience with you, and they now have a reason to move forward with that purchase. You can trigger real-time alerts for yourself. So if someone is experiencing an issue, you're notified right away, and you can pop open that chat. And that way you're there for that visitor while they're struggling, instead of them abandoning and going on to the next site or just not even purchasing. You're there for that customer, and you can help be a trustworthy person by having that right experience at the right time. We don't want pop-ups coming up on every page. We don't want discount codes all over the place. Make sure they pop up at the right time. If they're done well and they're done properly, the customer's going to appreciate it, and the customer's going to want to use your site more because you're offering those different experiences. As Kate says, although your customers aren't going to love you if you give bad service, I guarantee your competitors will. And I promise you the same goes for our services as well. If we're not offering that good experience, it's going to let them go look for someone offering something similar, and that's the last thing you want to do. So as we continue to focus on engaging our visitors, we're going to make sure that we're always there and always available when they have a question. We're going to focus in as we move forward into 2019 and beyond. How can we make live chat a priority for our site? And from there, when customers need help, when they're struggling, how can we help redirect them? Whether it's through chat, whether it's through a survey, or through other means that we have available, how can we make sure we correct that experience and send them off in the right direction? So step number 5 on how we're going to improve conversions is one of my favorite ones, and that's how can we find cheerleaders and get them to start evangelizing our product for us. Think of this as digital word-of-mouth marketing. Today in our society, many people trust what others say way more than the ads they see on TV or hear on the radio or wherever else they may see it. Over 90% of people trust word-of-mouth marketing. What does that mean, though? What it means is when they trust it, they're going to take action on it. 2x of people are going to be able to pay more attention and really focus in on those posts and recommendations. So if they're on Facebook or on Twitter and they see their friends post about something that they're interested in, they're going to take that to heart. Close to 30% of millennials say they won't even test a product anymore if it's not coming recommended from someone else. What we're trying to do here is get your product out there and get people talking about it, because other evangelists are free. It's not going to cost you anything at all, and people really are going to trust your product because one of their friends or one of their colleagues is talking about it. So how can we do that? We'll give you some examples here. The first comes from something we had happen internally at Lucky Orange. We have a person using our product, and they created a nice YouTube video about it. This YouTube video talked about his positive experience with Lucky Orange and how they were using Lucky Orange to help increase conversions on their site as well. Within this dropshipping community, they had 11,000 views in just a couple short weeks on this video. So what happened here is our customer created a YouTube video. This person happened to be part of the dropship lifestyle community, which is a very large community. Because of that, Lucky Orange was now open to a new market we've never been a part of before. And thanks to that, that led to more signups, more conversions, and more happy customers, all because one of our customers just happened to create this nice video for us. Now, while it's great that this happened organically, I'm going to show you and share with you some examples of how you can incent this action and how you can get people to do this for you. So we see the benefit of it, and we see what we can do by seeing a major purchase intent lift and offering something that's positive and something that really is of value. So as you look to incent this, and as I show you these next few examples, think about to yourself, what is it we can offer with our service or our product that really is going to be of value to someone? Probably giving someone a $1 discount may not mean much. Now, if your product costs $2 and it's a 50% discount, that may mean something. But find what it is. Maybe it's a t-shirt that you offer with a purchase. Or maybe it's 30 days free on your product. Find something that really is of value so that when these people are sharing, you can turn them into happy customers because they're getting a kickback, but you can also offer value to your customers as well and future customers that may be seeing this. So the first example of a way I've seen it really well done is Harry's. Harry's, for those of you who are not familiar, offer different shaving tools and products for people to use while they're taking care of shaving their face or whatever it may be. And as they got started, they wanted to figure out a way they could get other people excited about it too. So for every 10 people that someone referred over, you got one free razor. For every 25 referrals, you got a premium shave set. And for every 50 referrals, you got a year's worth of free shaving equipment. These things are something of real value. I know even at 10 referrals, a razor can cost $10, $15, $20. So right there, you're already getting real value at the most basic level. What this did for Harry's as it got started is they had over 100,000 people signed up and using this incentive-based system before they even started selling their product. So they had a huge user base already interested just by setting up this referral program. Another great example is our friends over at Dropbox. Lots of you are probably already familiar with this service and may have already taken advantage of this referral program without even realizing what you were doing. But what Dropbox has done since the beginning is for every person you refer over, they give you extra storage. So when they do this, the first 18 months that they were active, they saw their signups increase by over 60%, with 2.8 million of these referrals coming from this incentivized signup. Today, they continue to use this as well, and around 35% of all signups come from their referral program. What this goes to show you is that if you offer something that is worthwhile to others, it's going to incentivize people to share, and it's going to also bring you new customers as well. So what we want to do is we focus in on bringing more cheerleaders to help evangelize our product. We're going to go beyond that sale and make those people that have purchased your product happy converters and valuable cheerleaders for you as well. We're going to offer incentives and increase our referrals and sales by doing so. And don't underestimate the word of mouth marketing. In today's world, this means a lot to you and will mean a lot to your business if you do it right. So as we wrap things up today, I want to go back through the 5 topics that we talked about and make sure we highlight some of the areas I want you to focus in on. So as we go through this, we want to make sure that we're uncovering what's holding your website back and preventing your visitors from converting. As we do that, we're going to dig into how traffic from different sources and different devices interact with your site. We're going to figure out those different segments of users and how we can help tailor those landing pages and make that an advantage of ours by actually catering to the experience for those different people. What we want to remember is we're not dictating to your visitors what they want. We're actually going to cater to them and provide them what they need. Don't just follow advice that you find online, even if it says it comes from an expert, or even what you saw today in my presentation. Test it out for yourself on your site and make sure you find out what works for your customers. We're going to focus on optimizing the website. While we still want to make it pretty, we still want to provide videos and pictures and that different content, we want to do that with still focusing on providing what matters most to our customers. Put your website on a bit of a diet and really focus in on that most valuable content. As we work with our customers and we help to improve the experience on site, start using live chat. Test a couple different surveys or polls to see how you can engage with your customers and keep those people down that desired path. And lastly, find those ways to turn the happy customers into our cheerleaders, and that way you can bring more customers without having to spend additional money on marketing. So again, I want to thank you for joining. Again, my name is Bradley. I'm here with Lucky Orange. And for any of you that want to test it out, we're going to leave this here for you to use. We're going to extend the trial for you, give us a percentage off if you do decide to upgrade. Again, I want to thank you and let you know we'll stick around here for a few minutes to answer questions you have. All right, so we're looking back through here, and we're going to go through some of the questions that have come up so far. So back to the bots section. How do you know if bots are visiting your site? And are all bots bad traffic? And how can you help identify those? So using services like Lucky Orange, when you're looking into that, what you'll see within recordings or visitors is you'll see visitors coming from very similar IPs over and over again. They're not going to have any time on site. They might visit different pages on your site, but the time on site is going to be very small, and they're not going to be making purchases. So what you want to do is if you see these same IPs popping up, it's very likely that this is a bot. Not all of them are bad. Some of them could be coming from Google search just to make sure your website is still in existence. So when they're sending traffic to it, they're not getting linked to a dead page. So you want to understand what are these bots, and are they happening just every once in a while, or are you being bombarded by it? And once you identify those, that's when you can work to use some different tools out there, try to block them from your site, or at least make sure that you are aware of them and you're taking them out of your reporting. Great question. The next question that come up is how do you set up real-time alerts? So real-time alerts depends on which system you're using. I can speak to Lucky Orange, and what you can do with Lucky Orange is when you have a visitor trigger either a specific URL or a specific JavaScript action or a specific event, you can be notified with a sound alert on your computer, even pop into a live view of that person, and right through our system, you'll get alerted that that person has triggered that event. There's other systems out there that you may be able to connect with Slack or have it text straight to your phone and really understand and get that notification right when that action happens so that you can make sure that you're following up with that customer. Great question there. And then another question. How can you find out how long it takes your site to load? So again, there's a couple ways to do it. There's tools out there that will evaluate it for you, like the Google's speed test. You can look there and it'll tell you how long it takes. Or you can do what I even said. Truly go to your website, have a stopwatch ready, whether it's on your phone or it's on your computer, and as soon as you click enter, start that stopwatch. Watch as that page loads and see how long is it taking. You'll be able to see for yourself until all that content loads in, and you'll be able to see right then and there how long your site's taken. All right, we have a few more questions coming in through here. How can Lucky Orange help create social shares? So as far as Lucky Orange is concerned, Lucky Orange is more going to be how people are interacting with your site and what's going on actually on your website. If you're looking to get more social shares, you'll probably want to use some other third-party tools, whether it's paying for Facebook ads or sponsoring a post on Twitter. That's how you're really going to help get some more social shares, is by using those sources. And also looking for common people out there that maybe can evangelize your product for you and share it that way. You can look at your customers as well and have your customers share it by offering some incentive for them to do that as well. But that would be more a tool outside Lucky Orange. Another great question coming in from Robert is, how could you award your users if your website is free? Well, if your website is free and there's not anything on your website that you're going to need to sell at any point in time, what you could do is you could just award your users, maybe after every 50 shares, they can get a t-shirt representing your company. Something that isn't of huge value, but it's still something fun that they can now have once they've brought people to you. So think outside the box a little. Maybe it's not a free service you're offering, but what are other ways you can promote your offering by having people drive more people your way? A next question here. When you see traffic come to your site that says US but doesn't have a specific location, is that a bot? It doesn't necessarily mean that's a bot. It just may mean that the IP service that that company is using doesn't happen to have the exact location for the user. Now, it could mean there's a bot, but there's no way to definitively say that. Again, you're going to want to look for a lot of traffic coming in a short period of time from the same IP range, and that's really going to give you insight into that. As far as blocking bots go, with a continuation on that question, you can block them from your tracking services, but you can also work with your host provider and work on blocking that traffic from even making it to your domain. So it depends on how you're trying to block it, but there are different ways you can go about doing it. We'll take a few more questions coming in here. I know we have to wrap things up soon, but we'll have a few more coming in and we'll try to get as many answered as we can. Good question coming in from Steph. How do you go about doing A/B testing, and what tools might you use? So some good tools out there, Optimizely, Google Optimize. Google Optimize even has a free version, so you can get your feet wet with it. So those would be good places to start. And what you can do with those is it allows you don't even have to have a designer on staff. You can move your buttons on the page, and it allows you to just make minor tweaks to your content, and then it will automatically send users for that specific URL to those different versions for you. And you'll be able to see all the stats within their dashboard. So Optimizely or Google Optimize would be great places to start with that. A co-browse app, can you mention one of those? Of course, Lucky Orange can do that for you. When you're in Lucky Orange, there's a live visitor section, and that will allow you to co-browse with the visitors and see exactly what they're doing. All right, well, I think that's most of the questions today. If you have further questions that come up, you can reach me, Bradley at luckyorange.com. Whether it's any questions on the presentation today or you just want to bounce ideas off another person, I'm here and happy to do that. So always feel free to reach out. It's been a pleasure being with you guys all today. Hope the rest of your day is a great one, and thanks again for your time. Bye now.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining today's webinar, and thanks for the awesome information, Bradley. As a reminder, we'll be sending out the replay video and PDF of the slides, so look out for that. Thank you, everyone.